So this is crazy article to me. It's just like kind of like casual, like, hey guys, it's like the goofy guy. Hey guys, it's not too bad with all this. Leave our shadows from the nuclear blast that this is so hot it evaporates us, but leaves our shadows against the wall and the sidewalk and stuff like that.
Like fucking Pompeii.
So like, it'd be okay, guys, because it's a small bomb, not a big bomb. So and literally there was an article like that in the Times, just like that kind of tone. Hey guys, don't worry about it. So everyone's kind of scared because Russia is a nuclear power. Russia actually has more nuclear weapons than the United States. People don't realize that that's actually a fact. They have way more nuclear weapons than us. Have slightly more nuclear weapons than us. So that's why we're kind of standing back and letting them bully the shit out of Ukraine, because if we go in, it's gonna be like bad stuff for everybody, bad stuff for the whole world. It's kind of a fucked up situation.
I do want to make it clear, though.
So
they also have the most decommissioned nuclear weapons that are like in these containers for like nuclear waste deep in the ground because they're unusable.
They also have a lot of missing nuclear weapons because when the Soviet Union failed, a lot of them just kind of went missing. So some guys might have them somewhere too. So that's not
well. I think you should look in your closet to make sure that Eric Adams hasn't put one of them
put a nuclear
in your house.
So this, hey guys, a smaller bomb can turn Ukraine to a nuclear war zone. It's kind of like, hey, what's going on? So I saw this headline, like, okay, that's
because I don't like the way they talked about that, because that if Russia uses nuclear or warheads, the other nuclear states in the world are going to just start raining them down on Russia, and then we've got like the whole World War thing going.
So here we go. The destructive power, the behemoths of the Cold War dwarfed the American atomic bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. Washington's biggest test blast was 1,000 times as large as Hiroshima. Moscow's was 3,000 times. So I can't even comprehend the scale of that kind of destruction. That sounds horrible. But on both sides, the idea was to deter strikes with threats of fast retaliation, with mutual assured destruction. That's what we talked about earlier, that even the old racist white guys back in the day were like, know what? We can't use any of this shit because we're all going to die. Fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
So the psychological bar was so high that nuclear strikes came to be seen as unthinkable, even to those guys back in the day. But today, now we get to like, hey guys, today both Russia and the United States have nuclear arms that are much less destructive. Their powers are just fractions to the Hiroshima bomb blast. They're perhaps less frightening and more thinkable. Hey,
and remember that they were hydrogen bombs. Yeah. They were atomic bombs that went off in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We're talking about nuclear bombs. We're talking about what happened at Chernobyl or at Fukushima, right? Yeah. Take that. And then somebody setting that kind of blast off intentionally. And remember that the air currents also like move the contaminants around. You could set off a bomb like that in Ukraine, and you can contaminate people in the United States because of the weather patterns. And also remember too that Ukraine is west of Russia. They set that bomb off. A lot of the contaminants are going to go where? To the east. Guess what's to the east? Russia.
Yeah.
You can claim victory in that war, but that is the epitome of a Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like these hypotheticals is kind of this absurd kind of like this kind of fear mongering, like suicidal fear mongering of like, is Putin that desperate? But so we're going to go to like what they talk about in this article, like Putin might fire a weapon at an uninhabited area instead of troops.
Desperate or nihilistic?
2018, the study he laid out, because they said that this is an existential threat to their country. So that means that they're willing to go balls to the wall with the bombs if they have to. That seems kind of like a red flag of that kind of talk.
Yeah, your own bombs are an existential threat to your country when you set them off.
So he laid out a crisis scenario in which Moscow detonated a bomb over a remote part of the North Sea as a way to signal deadly strikes to come. It's like it's shooting a shotgun blast in the air. kind of situation over the
Yeah,
North Sea.
but even then, there are ecological consequences to Russia and the surrounding countries.
So Washington expects more atomic moves. This hasn't been any atomic moves from Putin in the days to come. Moscow's likely to increasingly ally on this nuclear deterrent to signal the West and project strength as the war and its consequences weaken Russia. So Biden is going to NATO summit in Brussels to talk to the other people, blah, blah, blah. So what's happening is we're going to go back to these nuclear weapons that they're talking about. I want to scroll down to this. It's unclear how Russia exerts control of its arsenal of less destructive arms, but some U.S. politicians and experts have denounced the smaller weapons on both sides as threatening to upend the global balance of nuclear terror. So he's still being honest about it. Having all these it's not about using them, it's about just being terrorized about them, like being terrorized that this shit's around.
Just like the Cuban Missile Crisis.
So for Russia, military analysts note edgy displays of the less destructive arms have let Mr. Putin polish his reputation for more deadly brinksmanship and expand his own intimidation needs to fight a bloody conviction of war. Putin is using a nuclear deterrent to have his way in Ukraine, which is right. He's saying that he has the banger. Don't fuck with him. He's got the ding. Stay away. That's what's happening right now, pretty much. So global race for the smaller arms is intensifying. Though such weapons are less destructive by Cold War standards, modern estimates show the equivalent of half a Hiroshima bomb. This little half of it is half of Hiroshima. If detonated in Midtown Manhattan, it would kill or injure 500,000 people, which is not bad. It's 500,000 people, not 15 million people. You know, it's okay. Not that too bad. So the case against these arms is just that they undermine the nuclear taboo and make crisis situations even more dangerous. The less destructive nature, critics say, can feed the illusion of atomic control when in fact the use can suddenly flare into a full-blown nuclear war.
Yeah, because you already know, like, I mean, think about it. I mean, if these are some of the most egotistical people on the planet.
Yep.
If Putin drops a couple of these little mini bombs and we know that tens of millions of people are going to die in just the first few hours, and then hundreds of millions of people in the weeks afterwards and in the years afterwards, no one is able to live there because of, you know, the contamination. So what do you think? What do you think that the politicians are going to do? They're going to be like, well, if they're going to do this to our people, we're going to do this to their people.
So they'll
follow death with more death.
So this article actually goes into it trends into kind of old news because nuclear weapons development has been happening for a long time. So it kind of goes back into old news. So I want to actually play a video instead from 2019, that talks about exactly kind of like this small. It's called low yield nuclear weapons. That's what it's called. That's the technical term of these weapons that are kind of acute small nuclear weapons. So it's a good This is a good documentary from the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists who actually have the doomsday clock. The guys who have that, and they made a documentary about low yield nuclear weapons a couple of years ago. So it's actually before this kind of fear mongering. It gives you context about this. So it's not just out of nowhere. This talk is happening.
It's not a very nice world.
Catch this.
A new low-yield nuclear warhead has entered production in Texas, according to the National Nuclear Security Administration. The warhead, known as the W76-2, is a low-yield weapon ordered in last year's nuclear posture review.
Nuclear posture.
You saw that? How I hold my dick. No, literally, the article. Look at that. It's literally like the symbol of strategic command is like someone holding a dick, lightning dicks.
We believe that in order to deter Russia from using nuclear weapons on the battlefield, we should deploy a low-yield nuclear weapon on our ballistic missile submarines.
It makes no sense for us to build low-yield nuclear weapons. There is no advantage to that, and it is dangerously escalating.
Your mind goes to the idea that, yes, nuclear weapons become usable, and then we're really in trouble.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a zero-calorie chocolate fudge sundae.
Pause. That's probably one of the few sensible things I've heard come out of the mouth of a politician. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to make it where the nuclear bombs seem to be less daunting to use, do you know what is going to happen when you use one of those bombs? They're going to come back with the regular big bombs. And you know what you're going to be forced to do? Come back with your regular big bombs.
Come up with 1,000 times more Hiroshima bombs. Oh,
right. It's like if you have a small dog that wants to like climb into your bed, right?
Yeah.
You move the little step ladder thing to help it get up into the bed.
Yeah.
Right? But if you take that away, then they would have to wait until they have the ability to jump up.
Yeah.
But here they're like, oh, let's make it easier for us to let the atomic bomb dog get into our bed. And when it explodes, it's going to explode all over ourselves. Because that's really what we're looking at. And that is one of the most sensible things I've ever heard one of these talking heads in Washington ever say.
Sunday, and there's no such thing as a low-yield nuclear weapon.
That's
the
another
largest
good
conventional
point.
weapon in the U.S. stockpile right now is this massive ordnance
Mother of all
bombs.
bombs.
Bomb. And this one has a yield of 11 tons of TNT. What the administration now is trying to pursue and call a low-yield warhead.
Get the fuck out of here! Yo, son! I don't want to give context to that weird New York Times article. Like, this is what it's talking about. Not too bad. It's not too bad. Look at that. Is that not too bad to you? Oh my god!
100 times more powerful than this bomb. 5,000 tons of TNT. So it's still massive in terms of the damage that it can do. My name is Sebastian Philippe. I'm a fellow at the project on managing the atom at the Harvard Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs. I served in the French government as a nuclear weapons system safety engineer. It's not actually a completely new warhead design. The idea here is to modify the W76.
Oh, it's a C4 Simp. Did you see that?
To remove the secondary from that warhead.
Yeah, go back.
And simply keep the warhead design. The idea here is to modify the W76 one. And so to remove the secondary from that warhead. And simply keep the plutonium primary.
In other words, we'll take
Something ain't easy,
a
y'all.
big weapon out of a submarine and put a small weapon back in.
What is new here is to modify a weapon that is deployed on a strategic weapon system. So the ballistic nuclear submarine, taking one or two of those missiles out, removing the existing warheads and placing lower yield warheads on top of those missiles. But those missiles' mission would not be the usual strategic second strike capability mission.
Is to make certain that no one thinks that they could use a low yield weapon and put us in a position where we could only respond with a high yield weapon with the supposition that maybe we would not.
Now, who can argue with that?
This idea that we need a couple of light small nuclear weapons to show them we're serious, and then we'll use those and things will calm down and we'll all get back to our senses. It's a nice theory, but the problem is if it breaks down, life as we know it on the planet is over.
As many experts have publicly suggested, Russia may not be able to distinguish between an incoming Trident missile that poses an existential threat to their nation and a low-yield nuclear missile that is intended to...
So here's another point.
Yeah, she's right. They're not going to give a flying fuck.
It's a smaller nuke. Nigga, please.
Yo, I didn't blast you with the AK. I only hit you with the 22. No, they're going to come back with the chopper, son. Like, they don't give a fuck the size of the gun you shoot at them. They just know they were shot at. And that's all the fuck that they'll kill. Man. Oh, man.
You know that on that submarines, there are strategic missiles armed with multiple 100 kilotons warheads. And you would not be able to see the difference. You may try to calculate as quickly as possible the trajectory, but you may not know. So during that time, if you want to take a decision, you may have the wrong information, or you may just assume that this is simply a strategic strike. and it's not a one warhead coming at you.
If the Russians employ a low-yield nuclear weapon on the battlefield and they see something coming out of the Trident coming their direction, it's nuclear. The question is, how big is that response? And they will find out in about 30 minutes.
Oh, shit.
They will.
Like a hot pocket.
A risk that this administration is taking, but it is not one that I can support.
The second problem is that the submarines, their core mission is really the second strike capability.
Yo,
So
can you run that back again? I want you to look at the look on his face.
About 30 minutes.
That may be a risk that this administration is willing to take.
I shouldn't be
but it is
laughing.
not one that I can support.
The second problem is that the
He's like,
submarines,
listen, we will end the earth,
their core
nigga.
mission is really the second strike capability.
Try
They're
me.
supposed to remain hidden and hide
Fuck
under
around
the
and
sea
find out.
until one day the order comes that they need to retaliate. If you use one of those weapons for that submarine in particular, you would also kind of give up its position, because every time you launch a missile, it's kind of pretty clear you can track back the points of origin, and that submarine may be attacked also. And where does this end is something we can't really predict.
If an adversary employs low-yield nuclear weapons on a battlefield, the only option that we have should not be just to go big. If they believe they can achieve their objectives through the limited use of nuclear weapons, then we risk a deterrence failure.
If you're trying to use nuclear weapons to prevent escalation and a bigger nuclear war, you may actually, accelerate that possibility rather than the other way around. If it's just a problem of yield, there is what the U.S. administration would call
Why is that shit is on there like an Amazon
currently in the arsenal.
scroll page?
I think here it's more a matter of ideology, the way the United States
Bid
sees
or
the
buy
world
it
and
now.
the relation it
Yes.
has to the world at this point, rather than something that is absolutely logical. That because Russia deploys a new weapons, we have to deploy a new weapon in response.
What disturbs me about the direction of this conversation is I don't believe that great power rivalry equals endless arms race.
So this was before Trump got
Basically, whenever you have a
this
great
video.
power rivalry, all that is involved is military power. You have to build as much as you can build. They have to build as much as they build, and it goes up and up and up and up and up.
We will outspend and out-innovate all others by far.
That's
The
one of the
United
very
States doesn't
few
have to
things
do
that he
The
said that's
United
true.
States has the strongest conventional military in the world. It has strategic nuclear weapons that can deter any nuclear attack anywhere in the world. And if you think that's not the case, then you have a bigger problem. And it's not by fielding a 5 kiloton warheads on an SSBM that you're going to solve that problem.
What's your priority among our nuclear triad?
Well, nuclear is just the power, the devastation is very important to me.
I mean, we had to end it with some dumb, incoherent babble from that guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he was president now,
we have the capability, and we have bombs, and the bombs, they make a big sound when they go boom. Like, fuck out of here, man! You don't know what you're talking about.
So this is what the article actually talks about. It talks about how, like, if a small Russian blast happens, the response would be from a submarine launch. That's what the article talks about. So I just wanted to show you this video play. Actually show that the shit this guy's talking about in this article is shit we've been talking about when Trump got elected, before he got fucking elected. So it's not new news. It's pretty old news, and it's kind of like to scare you with it. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh. But it's actually a discussion that's been happening for a long time.
But we should also be careful not to be lulled to sleep thinking that these are far away fantasies that aren't really going to come to pass. A lot of people living in Ukraine thought that Putin wasn't going to do what he ended up doing. They thought that, he's got Crimea, it's all good. Nope, it doesn't. It didn't work out that way. And now we're hearing reports that the other military, I forget what Belarus, the Belarusian military may get involved because the Ukrainians are not folding quick enough for the Russians.
Yeah, but
right?
this personal level, like the Ukrainians I talked to, pretty much one guy just straight up said to me, like, he was an IT project manager. He was doing like the dorkiest thing in the universe at the time, and now he's like helping arms and stuff like that. And he told me straight to me, he's like, enjoy. I didn't know this was happening. Enjoy your time. Enjoy the time you have right now. Enjoy it as much as you can.
Yep.
You just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and that's what he told me straight up. And dealing with his air sirens, hearing air sirens, using electricity, and and that's where Americans really take things for granted. So much, So
and I think that there's no way you can't live in this level of opulence never before seen in human history and think that regular everyday people are just going to adjust and just adapt to hard times immediately. I don't think that's something that we should bank on, that we should expect. But
yeah, but then you have these weird articles saying that, nuclear war won't be that bad for America. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, people can barely deal with Facebook being down, So this is Global Earth News. I give you, some geopolitical talk, and this is Black Power Magic Hour on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, on the different TV platforms are out there. The .tv Genius, he's playing games and talking shit on Twitch, YouTube, Discord, YouTube, and that's Global Earth News Nuclear War Edition.